Good morning. I would like to give my warm thanks to our exercise host, Ukraine.
Y'all came in at the same time.
The next person will pretty much take over as the number 2 man.
Good.
75 years ago, Russia invaded this very area. So that threat was there then, and that threat is still here today.
My fellow Americans, tonight I want to speak to you about what the United States will do with our friends and allies to degrade and ultimately destroy. The outbreak is such where at this point, more people will die. But if we move fast, even if imperfectly, then that could mean the difference between 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 deaths versus hundreds of thousands or even 1 million deaths. So everybody's got to move fast in order for us to make a difference. I've said that this is as important a national security priority for my team as anything else that's out there.
We face great challenges and uncertainties to the east and to the south, so we must keep NATO strong.
We've seen a nation bring a military force on a border to great readiness and initially call it an exercise. Strategically supply, position, and enable that force. Then that force goes across an internationally recognized border, imposes its will on another sovereign nation by force, annexes that land by force, retreats, reforms, strategically resupplies, enables, provides for that force, and then goes across the border again and imposes its military will on a sovereign nation. That cannot be seen as a nation acting as a partner.
Threats from terrorists and insurgents will remain with us for a long time. But we also must deal with a revisionist Russia, with its modern and capable army on NATO's doorstep. And as disruptive technologies and destructive weapons proliferate in the hands of state and non-state actors, the specter of so-called hybrid warfare looms large.
Работа с другой руки. Рука твердая, танки наши быстрые.
The campaign to confuse the American people has been intense.
It's no secret that NATO is facing interesting times. Events like Russia's aggressive actions in Ukraine, the scourge of ISIL in Syria and Iraq are all serious developments that we're tracking here and demand our attention.
Question for General Breedlove. Does that mean that you have information to believe that this, what was sighted in Swedish waters, was a Russian submarine of some kind?
President Woodrow Wilson spoke to Congress, and he predicted a growing cordiality among nations, foreshadowing an age of settled peace and goodwill. He spoke those words 101 years ago. We all know that history proved the president wrong. The so-called war to end all wars was anything but a war to end all wars. The future security environment remains uncertain, and trying to predict it will continue to be as challenging as ever. But the American people depend upon the Army to be prepared. And I know those who represent today's Army in this room know that we will not fail them.
Боевая тревога, ракетная атака. Нанести ядерный удар согласно плана БО применения стратегической операции ядерных сил. 20 часов 27 минут 00 секунд 29 октября.
What Alfred said is so true. We are fighting a mass of propaganda that has demonized the Syrian government, demonized its leaders, an effort that precedes every other intervention that the United States has made over the course of many, many decades in order to convince people that it's okay for quote-unquote humanitarian reasons to overthrow a government and to replace it with whatever. What we saw in the two villages we visited outside Damascus belies the propaganda that has overwhelmed us. It's hard. It's hard for even those of us who have been in the peace movement for a long time. It's hard for us to ignore this propaganda. It is so well orchestrated.
We have no right to impose these illegal sanctions. One of the things that stood out to me is not only the lack of medication and the fact that Syrian children are dying because they can't get chemotherapy meds into the country because of the illegal sanctions that the U.S. and the West has imposed. Also, they're not allowing parts and material to get to businesses who are trying to maintain. And they're trying to maintain for more than one reason, and not just to continue to make money, but to employ people. Because when people have no way to earn a living, they become desperate. And we know that some of the Syrian people who may have chosen to join the terrorists, mostly for economic reasons, because they couldn't earn a living. And their benefactors, the U.S. and all the others who are collaborating together to fund this terrorism, are paying people very well to participate.
The campaign to confuse the American people has been intense. And it is our purpose to try to bring some light, some understanding, which can perhaps lead to the American people demanding an end to the intervention.